Batman 1989 was a film directed by Tim Burton and released in 1989 under the Warner Brothers Productions. One of the most interesting things about the film was it was kind of a deviation from what everybody has seen Batman in terms of the 1960s version, which was really cheesy and, in my mind, stupid. But there's some people that really enjoy that version. I'm not knocking Adam West anyway. I think he's a great Batman, but it's just not my thing. I understand when people talk about their childhood and say that he was basically their childhood. I completely understand all of that. It wasn't for me. Tim Burton's film was a weird deviation in my mind for two reasons. Number one, it really was a Tim Burton film in that you can see this kind of edgy darkness about it that feels really uncomfortable, especially in regards to Jack Nicholson's Joker, who kind of felt like the comic book Joker, but at the same time it didn't. Obviously, they kind of went with their own in regards to the story of how the Joker became the Joker. That was kind of a deviation from the original plot in the comics, and especially in the 1960s version, especially with him being the one who killed the Waynes. I never really liked that plot line, but that's a whole other subject. But in regard to this film, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. I liked a lot of the acting. I thought the acting was really well done. I liked the special effects. I mean, the gun sounds and everything felt pretty natural in my mind. The costume, I personally would like it for nostalgia reasons, but in reality, the costume wasn't that. It was kind of impractical. I get the reason why with like the body armor and then they had that massive piece of rubber around the neck, but he couldn't turn his head. I mean, it was just when he's turning it, just like he's turning his entire body. It's kind of weird. I'm glad they did away with that in the Dark Knight films, but it just was a little odd. The villain, one of the problems I had with this film was the villain was really the main focus of it. Jack Napier, it was the Joker. He was the main focus of the entire film. It really was just mainly focused on him and his experiences from going from a kind of a guy, the underling for Grissom, and he goes from that, and he's like, having an affair with Grissom's wife, to becoming this really deranged person. And it's not really entirely ever explained. I mean, obviously it's inferred that it was the gas, the toxic sludge made him that way, but in reality, it's kind of like this massive 180. I think that could have been done better. I love the character of Knox. I wish he was in the Batman Returns, but he wasn't. That his character made the story really interesting. I liked the love interest. It was pretty well done. I thought the story of Bruce Wayne was compelling. I wish it focused more on him, but that's just the sense of the father. The soundtrack really was what saved this movie for me. I think the soundtrack is the best soundtrack for any Batman film to ever exist. Maybe Batman Returns takes the cake on that one, but I think the soundtrack's amazing. I think overall, in reality, Danny Elfman has done way better work. And I love Hans Zimmer with Dark Knight, but it didn't really feel like a Batman soundtrack. It just felt like a really amazing soundtrack. And this one just really takes the cake on that one. And the last thing I'd probably have to say about the film is it really did kind of create the superhero like genre. I know Superman with Christopher Reeve came out first. Those first four films, the last one being really, really, really bad. But this one kind of really spawned this new kind of getting away from the 1960s serials of this kind of formulaic way of making those films, where it's the superhero always wins, and the superhero has this like really heroic figure, and the villain's just this kind of cheesy old daughter. And this film kind of got away from that, and Joker is very kind of almost scary in a way to some people, and he's very methodical, and I like a lot of that. This definitely spawned the rest of the Batman films. It had a huge effect on the animated series, among other things, but it just, to that extent, its legacy is pretty amazing, put it lightly. So that's my opinion on that. But like I said, I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. It wasn't perfect. Obviously, I had a couple issues with pacing, with the way the story was told, with focusing too much on that villain. But overall, I still really enjoyed it. I really did. Upon every rewatch, it just gets better for me. So that was at least comforting. But upon all of that combined, really helps to kind of put a film together that is at least enjoyable on rewatch. And it's not that heavy in terms of film. The story is not. It's splintered in so many ways. It's not that hard of to rewatch because you're not having to go through this entire long drawn out story. Well, I'll give you an example. Like the Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises has this such heavy story, and this one is just kind of more of a lighter story. The stakes aren't that high, and it's relatively an enjoyable watch. So subscribe, leave a comment of your favorite Batman film and your ranking of this film and how you rate it. And if you have any necessary connections to this film, let's say you saw it back in 1989, I wasn't alive for that, but if you saw it back in 1989, it completely changed your view on filmmaking, or you saw it back in 1989, you absolutely hated it, all of that's welcome. So, thanks.